Tonight, you'll hear the story of a boy who rose from chaos to rule the world. His name was Augustus, though once he was called Octavian, the young heir of Julius Caesar. He was only 18 when Julius Caesar was cut down in the Senate. While Rome drowned in shock, Augustus saw a chance. The daggers that killed his uncle opened the door to his own destiny. At first, no one took him seriously. He was a sickly heir, soft-spoken, too young to lead, yet within a few short years, his enemies were gone. He outplayed generals, crushed armies, and rebuilt the Republic into something new, something that would last for centuries. But behind the marble and glory lay shadows, a world of secret deals, broken vows, and quiet revenge. Augustus did not just build an empire, he became one. Before you settle in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. Tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is where you are. I love seeing who's drifting into history with us tonight. Now, dim the lights. Let the thunder of legions fade into your breathing. Tonight, you'll drift through 20 shocking and untold truths about Augustus, the boy who avenged a god, ruled an empire, and turned betrayal into the blood that built Rome. Chapter 1: The Clash of Empires. When iron cuts the sea and thunder shakes the sky, one empire burns to live, the other falls to die. September 2nd, 31 BC. The Ionian Sea off the coast of Greece. The entire Roman world hangs on the next few hours. Mark Antony grips the rail of his flagship, knuckles white. He's 52, a legendary general who fought beside Julius Caesar in Gaul. Sweat runs down his face despite the sea breeze. Across the water sits Octavian Caesar, the sick boy Antony once dismissed as too frail for politics. That same kid now commands the fleet that will decide whether Antony lives or dies. The setup is brutal. Antony has 250 massive war galleys packed with battle-hardened soldiers. Beside him floats Cleopatra's royal barge, Egyptian gold catching the morning sun. Together they command the wealth of Egypt and Rome's eastern legions. Octavian's admiral Agrippa has 400 lighter, faster ships crewed by sailors who know these waters like their own hands. Agrippa's never lost a naval battle. He's waiting, patient as a spider. Antony's been trapped in this bay for months. Octavian's forces cut off his supply lines. His men are sick, starving, deserting. Two choices: stay and watch his army rot, or break through Agrippa's blockade and escape to Egypt. He's gambling everything on the wind. Around noon, it picks up. Northern winds exactly as planned. This is the moment, now or never. Antony raises his arm. Trumpets blast. His massive galleys surge forward, oars churning white water, towers bristling with archers. Fire arrows arc through the air, trailing smoke. Men shout war cries that echo across the bay. Agrippa's ships scatter, then circle back. They're harassing, flanking, wearing down the bigger vessels. Antony's heavy rams can't catch them. His archers waste arrows on targets that dart away. Flames spread across a galley to Antony's left. Burning pitch and oil, the ancient world's horror weapon. Men jump overboard in full armor. Some bob to the surface, gasping. Most sink like stones, dragged down by bronze and iron, drowning in darkness. The smell of burning wood and roasting flesh mixes with salt spray. Then Antony sees something that stops his heart. Cleopatra's golden barge unfurls its sails and turns south. Away from battle, away from him. 60 Egyptian ships follow her, breaking formation, running for open water. His veterans roar, not war cries but accusations. Betrayal. The witch runs. We're abandoned. Was this the plan? They'd discussed a breakout if the battle turned bad. Was this always the arrangement? Or is she actually abandoning him? His hand moves to his sword. His jaw clenches. Every second he hesitates, more men die. Every second he waits, Cleopatra's ships sail farther away. His officers shout at him, demanding orders, but their voices sound underwater. On Octavian's command ship, the young Caesar grips the rail. His face is green. He's been seasick the entire battle. He hates ships, hates the ocean. But right now, watching chaos tear through Antony's fleet, watching the legendary general freeze, Octavian feels something cold and sharp settle in his chest. Victory. He can taste it. The wind screams. The ships burn. Men drown screaming. Rome's fate hangs on what Mark Antony does in the next 60 seconds. Does he stay with his men? Does he chase the woman he loves? Does Rome's greatest general die a hero or live as a coward? To understand how we got here, how a sickly teenager nobody wanted ended up commanding fleets and breaking generals, we need to go back 13 years. Chapter 2. The sickly heir nobody wanted. A boy holds a letter. A nation holds its breath. When Caesar's name returns, the world remembers death. We're talking 44 BC, and the most dangerous piece of paper in the Roman world just arrived in Greece. Gaius Octavius is 18 years old, studying in Apollonia when the messenger finds him. The kid's been sick again, laid up with fever for 3 days. His mother worries constantly. His stepfather thinks he's too fragile for politics. Then he reads the letter. His great-uncle Julius Caesar is dead, murdered by men who called it freedom. And in Caesar's will, the world learns the unthinkable. The frail boy from Apollonia inherits 2/3 of Caesar's estate. His fortune, his name, all his enemies. That name changes everything. When Caesar adopted him posthumously, Gaius Octavius became Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus, or Octavian for short. In Roman tradition, the adopted son took the family name of his new father, and so from this moment on, the world would no longer see him as the obscure son of a provincial noble. He was now Caesar's heir in blood and in name, and everyone in Rome knew it. You're 18, sick your whole life, and suddenly you inherit billions along with a title that makes you the most wanted target in the country. Half the powerful people want to use you. The other half want you dead. His mother sends desperate messages. Don't go to Rome. Antony will destroy you. His stepfather agrees. To challenge Rome's most ruthless man is madness, but something shifts in the boy's eyes. Caesar saw something in him nobody else did. Caesar, who conquered Gaul and crossed the Rubicon, looked at this frail teenager and thought, that's the one. Why? Octavian folds the letter carefully. His hands don't shake. His voice is calm and cold as winter. We're going to Rome. His advisors think he's insane. Rome is a slaughterhouse. Mark Antony is stirring up the mob, positioning himself to inherit Caesar's power. The Senate scrambles to restore order. Brutus and Cassius, the lead assassins, are raising armies. And into this nightmare, a sick teenager with no army, no experience, no political base plans to walk in and claim he's Caesar's heir. It's suicide. But Octavian isn't thinking about survival. He's thinking about Caesar's veterans. Thousands of soldiers scattered across Italy, men who fought in Gaul and crossed the Rubicon, warriors who love Caesar more than Rome itself. Those men are angry, grieving, desperate for direction. What if that someone is Caesar's son? He sells property to raise cash. sends quiet messages to centurions he's never met. He doesn't promise vengeance, just reminds them that Caesar named him, that Caesar's bloodline runs through him now. By the time Octavian boards a ship for Italy, something has changed. He's still weak, still prone to fainting spells. But there's calculation in his eyes now. Patience, a willingness to play a game that will take years, not days. The crossing is brutal. Storms batter the ship. Octavian spends most of it vomiting over the side, so seasick he can barely stand. His companions wonder if he'll survive the journey, but he does. April 44 BC. He lands near Lupia in southern Italy. No legions greet him. The locals watch from a distance, whispering. Then something unexpected happens. Veterans start showing up. First a handful, then hundreds. Grizzled soldiers who fought in Gaul, men with scars and missing fingers. He doesn't beg or boast, just says quietly, "You swore an oath to Caesar." That's all it takes. Slowly, these hardened killers start to see something. Maybe it's Caesar's ghost. Maybe it's their own need to believe Caesar's death meant something. Or maybe this quiet boy actually has a plan. But there's a problem. When word reaches Mark Antony that Caesar's veterans are rallying, the laughter dies. He starts sharpening his knives, because Antony knows something the boy doesn't understand yet. In Rome, there's no room for two Caesars. One of them is going to rule. The other is going to die. The question is, which one knows how to play the game better? The legendary general with armies and experience, or the sickly teenager who's never commanded anything larger than a study group? But before Octavian reaches Rome, before he faces Antony, before any of this deadly chess match begins, we need to see the murder that started it all. 13 days before that letter reached Apollonia, Julius Caesar walked into the Senate house in Rome, the most powerful man in the world, surrounded by friends he trusted, senators who smiled and bowed. He had no idea that some of those friends had daggers hidden in their togas. What happened beneath Pompey's statue didn't just kill a man, it tore Rome apart. It created a power vacuum that would swallow thousands of lives. And it turned an unknown teenager into the most dangerous inheritance anyone could receive. So let's rewind. Back to the moment everything changed. Back to the Ides of March. Chapter 3. The Ides of March. The father falls, the son unknown. Who dares to claim a blood-soaked throne? March 15th, 44 BC. Rome. The air smells like rain and roses. Spring is coming to the city, but inside the Senate house, something else is blooming. Conspiracy. Meet Julius Caesar. He's 55 years old, conqueror of Gaul, master of Rome, the man who crossed the Rubicon and won a civil war. He's been declared dictator for life. Some whisper he wants to be king, though he's denied it publicly. Right now, he's walking toward the Senate house in his red general's cloak, nodding to citizens who bow as he passes. He has no idea he has about 15 minutes left to live. Picture the scene. The Senate meets in the theatre of Pompey today because their usual building is under renovation. Ironic, considering whose statue towers over the chamber. Pompey the Great, Caesar's former ally turned enemy, defeated and dead. Now Caesar conducts business beneath his rival's marble gaze. About 60 senators are in on the plot. Not all of them will strike, but they all know. They've been planning this for weeks. The ringleaders are Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus. Brutus is the one Caesar trusts most, practically a son to him. Cassius is the tactician, the one who organized everything. their justification. They're saving the Republic. Caesar has too much power. He's destroying the system their ancestors built. If they don't act now, Rome becomes a monarchy and freedom dies. That's what they tell themselves as they hide daggers in their togas. Caesar's wife Calpurnia begged him not to go this morning. She had nightmares, visions of his blood. Caesar almost listened. But then one of the conspirators, Decimus Brutus, showed up at his house with smooth words and reassurances. The Senate is waiting. Important business. Don't let superstition make you look weak. So Caesar went. He walks into the chamber. Senators stand, showing respect. Everything seems normal. Caesar takes his seat. Then a senator named Tillius Cimber approaches with a petition. It's a signal. Cimber grabs Caesar's toga, pulling it down from his shoulders. The plea for his exiled brother is just theatre. What happens next is not. Publius Servilius Casca strikes first. His dagger catches Caesar in the neck, but the blow is weak, panicked. Caesar roars and spins, grabbing Casca's arm. For a moment, the greatest general in Rome fights back with nothing but his hands. Then the others swarm. Imagine being surrounded by men you considered colleagues, some you considered friends, and watching them all pull out knives. 23 men, 23 stabs. Caesar tries to fight, tries to run, but there's nowhere to go. Blood sprays across marble floors. Senators who aren't part of the conspiracy flee in terror. And then Caesar sees Brutus, the young man he mentored, trusted, almost loved like a son. Brutus holds a bloody dagger. According to some accounts, Caesar stops fighting then. He pulls his toga over his head, covering his face. Some say he spoke. Et tu, Brut? You too, Brutus. Others claim he said nothing, just died with his dignity intact, refusing to let them see his final moments. He collapses at the base of Pompey's statue. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Caesar bleeds out beneath the marble image of the very man he had destroyed. The conspirators stand there, breathing hard, covered in blood. For a moment, nobody moves. Then Brutus raises his dagger and shouts about liberty and freedom. The tyrannicide is complete. Rome is saved. Except Rome isn't saved. Rome is about to burn. The conspirators expected the people to cheer. They expected gratitude. Instead, the city erupts into chaos. Mobs form. Fires start. Some people celebrate Caesar's death. More mourn it. And the conspirators realize they made a catastrophic mistake. They killed Caesar, but they didn't kill Mark Antony. Antony is Caesar's right-hand man, his consul, a warrior with legions at his command. The conspirators debated killing him too, but decided against it. Too risky, too bloody. Now Antony sees his opportunity. He gets permission to deliver Caesar's eulogy. Smart move. Because Antony doesn't just give a speech, he performs. He stands in the forum with Caesar's body, the corpse displayed for everyone to see. He reads Caesar's will aloud. Caesar left money to every citizen of Rome. He left his gardens as a public park. The people loved Caesar before, but now he's a martyr. Antony holds up Caesar's bloody toga, showing each stab wound. He doesn't call for violence directly. He doesn't have to. The crowd does it for him. Vengeance. Kill the traitors. Burn their houses. Brutus and Cassius flee that night. Their grand plan to restore the Republic just made everything worse. The conspirators scatter while the city burns. And far away in Greece, 18-year-old Gaius Octavius reads a letter that changes everything. Caesar is dead. The will names him heir. and his name changes to Octavian. But Mark Antony already controls Rome. He has the legions, the mob, Caesar's legacy. When Antony hears some sick teenager claims to be the real heir, he laughs. Then he hears the boy is actually coming to Rome. The laughter dies. Antony sends a message, friendly, welcoming. Come to Rome. Let's talk. Octavian's advisors beg him to refuse. It's a trap. Stay in Greece. Stay alive. But Octavian stares at that message and thinks about Caesar's veterans scattered across Italy, about a city desperate for someone to believe in. He sets course for Rome. He's either the bravest gambler in history or the biggest fool. Mark Antony is waiting to find out which, because when they meet, one of them walks away with Caesar's legacy. The other doesn't walk away at all. Chapter 4. A boy walks into Rome without an army. When blood meets crown and silence breaks, the boy becomes the storm he wakes. Summer, 44 BC. Rome. Octavian walks into the city on foot. No legions, no banners. Just a thin 18-year-old in a simple toga with a handful of friends. People stare. Caesar's heir. Others just see a sick kid who looks like a strong wind could knock him over. Mark Antony is waiting in Caesar's former house. He's taken over everything. Caesar's property, papers, authority. When Octavian is announced, Antony doesn't even stand up. A room thick with tension. Veterans line the walls, hands on sword hilts. Antony sits like he owns the place because right now he does. Into this walks a teenager who technically has the legal right to everything Antony's claimed. Octavian doesn't flinch. He looks Antony in the eye and makes his demand clear. He's Caesar's son now, by law and will. He wants what's his. Antony laughs, dismissive. Antony lays it out plain. Caesar's fortune, already spent. Caesar's name? Antony earned it fighting beside Caesar for years. Caesar's legacy, that belongs to someone who can actually lead, not some boy who faints at the sight of blood. The veterans smirk. The kid came. The kid got crushed. Now the kid will leave. But Octavian doesn't leave. He thanks Antony, polite, respectful. Then he walks out and does something brilliant. He starts talking to Caesar's veterans directly. The soldiers who fought in Gaul, who crossed the Rubicon, who loved Caesar more than Rome itself. They're scattered across Italy, broke and angry. Antony's promising them land and money, but the payments are slow. Octavian doesn't make grand speeches. He just asks them to remember Caesar, remember their oaths. Then he does something clever, something Antony didn't see coming. Octavian sells his own property, everything, uses that money to start paying Caesar's bequests to the citizens of Rome. Not all of it. He doesn't have nearly enough, but enough to show he's serious. Enough to show he honors Caesar's will while Antony sits on Caesar's fortune doing nothing. The mood shifts. Veterans begin gathering around Octavian. Not armies yet, just small groups. But word spreads. Caesar's son is in Rome. Caesar's son keeps promises. Antony notices, first amused, then annoyed, then genuinely concerned. Because the one thing Antony can't claim is blood. He was Caesar's friend, Caesar's general. But Octavian is Caesar's son. And to Romans, blood matters. The Senate watches with growing alarm. Some try to play both sides. Others make a catastrophic decision. They reach out to Brutus and Cassius, the men who murdered Caesar, begging them to raise armies and return to Rome. Now the stakes get real. Brutus and Cassius are gathering legions in Greece and Syria. coming back to finish what they started, to kill anyone who claims Caesar's name. Antony has the troops in Rome, the political machinery, the experience. Octavian? He has Caesar's name, a growing number of veterans, and absolutely no military experience. But Octavian makes a move that shocks everyone. Instead of fighting Antony, he proposes something insane. An alliance. Not because he trusts Antony, but because Octavian understands something Antony missed. The real enemy isn't each other. The real enemy is Brutus and Cassius. They need to pay first. Antony listens, suspicious. What's the catch? Octavian lays it out simply. Combine forces. Hunt down Caesar's killers. Avenge Caesar together. After that, then they settle who inherits Caesar's throne. A devil's bargain. A temporary truce between two men who both know that eventually one has to destroy the other. Antony agrees. Not because he likes Octavian, but because the boy is right. First, they kill Caesar's murderers. Then, they kill each other. There's one problem. Marcus Aemilius Lepidus, Caesar's former second-in-command, controls legions in Gaul. He wants in, so they form it. The second triumvirate. 3 men dividing the Roman world. Antony takes the east. Lepidus takes Spain. Octavian gets Italy and the scraps. On paper, an alliance. In reality, 3 vipers in a pit. But before they march against Brutus and Cassius, they send a message. A brutal one. They create the prescription lists. Names of enemies, senators, knights, businessmen. Anyone who supported the assassins. Anyone rich enough to rob. At the top of one list sits a name that will echo through history. Marcus Tullius Cicero, the greatest orator in Rome. The voice of the Republic, Antony's personal enemy. Cicero helped Octavian when he first arrived in Rome, gave him advice, treated him with respect when others laughed. Now Antony wants him dead. Does Octavian protect the man who helped him, or does he sign the death warrant? The alliance depends on it. The war against Caesar's killers depends on it. Everything Octavian has built depends on keeping Antony happy. Octavian picks up the stylus. His hand hovers over the wax tablet. 1 mark. That's all it takes. 1 signature, and Cicero dies. 1 signature, and Octavian proves he's willing to pay any price for power. The room is silent. Everyone waits to see if the boy has what it takes to play this game. Chapter 5. The Blood of Cicero. A voice that shook the Senate falls to dust, when power trades its honor for its trust. 43 BC, a road outside Rome. Marcus Tullius Cicero is running for his life. He's 63 years old, the greatest orator Rome has ever produced. His speeches brought down conspiracies. His words shaped the Republic. For decades, his voice was the conscience of Rome. Now that voice is worth nothing against cold steel. The prescription lists went out 3 days ago. Cicero's name is on them. His servants beg him to flee faster. Get to the coast. Get on a ship. But Cicero is old and tired. He spent his whole life fighting with words. Running from swords feels like admitting those words meant nothing. His litter bearers carry him down the dusty road toward the sea. Then they hear horses, galloping hard, getting closer. Cicero tells them to stop. He's too old to run, too Roman to die fleeing like a criminal. The soldiers arrive. Centurion Herennius leads them. He knows Cicero by sight. Everyone in Rome knows Cicero. Cicero pulls back the curtain. He looks at Herennius with those famous eyes that stared down corrupt governors and murderous consuls. Even killers hesitate before extinguishing greatness. Cicero doesn't beg. He stretches his neck forward, making it easier. One stroke. The blade bites through flesh and bone. Blood sprays across the litter's silk cushions. The head that held Rome's greatest mind tumbles into the dust. But that's not enough for Mark Antony. Cicero destroyed him with words. Those famous Philippics, 14 speeches calling Antony a drunk, a coward, a disgrace to Rome. Antony never forgot. The soldiers hack off Cicero's hands, the fingers that grip the stylus, that carved those speeches into wax tablets, now severed at the wrists. They wrap the head and hands in blood-soaked cloth and carry them back to Rome like hunting trophies. Antony is waiting in the forum. When they unwrap Cicero's head, the eyes still open, the mouth frozen mid-gasp, he smiles. He orders them displayed on the rostra, the speaker's platform where Cicero delivered his greatest speeches. Workers drive iron spikes through the decaying flesh, Cicero's head mounted high where everyone can see, his hands nailed on either side, fingers curled like claws. Antony's wife, Fulvia, comes to see. She climbs the platform, pulls a hairpin from her hair, and yanks Cicero's jaw open. Then she stabs the pin through his tongue, again and again. The tongue that shaped empires, that toppled conspiracies, now a pincushion for a vengeful woman's rage. She laughs as she twists the pin deeper, mocking the voice that once moved Rome. The citizens see this. They say nothing. They look away. Speaking out means your head goes up next. Somewhere in the city, 18-year-old Octavian hears about it. The man who helped him is now a rotting warning. Does Octavian feel guilty? Nobody knows. His face shows nothing. He's learning fast. In Rome, showing weakness gets you killed. Showing remorse gets you killed. The only thing that keeps you alive is proving you're willing to do whatever it takes. And Octavian just proved it. But Cicero isn't the only name on those lists. The triumvirate prescribes 300 senators, 2,000 knights, thousands more citizens. Why so many? Money. Raising armies costs a fortune. So they don't just kill their enemies. They steal everything their enemies own. Homes, land, businesses, gold. It's robbery with a legal stamp. Families are torn apart. Wives betray husbands. Sons turn in fathers for rewards. Rome descends into paranoia and blood. Think of it this way. You wake up and find your name on a government kill list because someone wanted your house. No trial, no defense, just soldiers at your door and your property up for auction before your body is cold. The prescriptions run for months. Rome's streets run red. The triumvirate grows richer on the blood and gold of their victims. But out in the east, Brutus and Cassius are watching. They've raised massive armies, veteran legions. They've secured the wealth of Syria and Macedonia. And they're done running. It's 42 BC now, 2 years since Caesar died. The armies march toward Greece, toward a place called Philippi. 20 Roman legions preparing to slaughter each other. Caesar's assassins on one side, Caesar's avengers on the other. Octavian has never fought in a real battle. He gets sick at the sight of blood. But tomorrow he faces Brutus and Cassius, the men who stabbed his father 23 times, the men who've been waiting 2 years for this moment. The night before the battle, Octavian lies in his tent listening to thousands of men sharpening swords. In the enemy camp across the field, Brutus and Cassius are doing the same. They know Octavian is coming. They know he's weak, sickly, inexperienced. And they're planning exactly how Caesar's heir is going to die. Chapter 6. Brutus and Cassius meet their end. 2 blades that killed a king now face his son, When autumn winds blow cold, which side has won? October 42 BC, Philippi, Greece. Two armies face each other across a narrow plain between mountains and marshland. Caesar's killers versus Caesar's avengers. The men who claimed they saved the Republic versus the men who claim they're avenging a god. Marcus Junius Brutus commands 19 legions, experienced troops, veterans who believe the Republic is worth dying for. Beside him stands Gaius Cassius Longinus, the tactical genius who organized Caesar's assassination. On the other side, Mark Antony commands the triumvirate forces. War, blood, chaos. This is what he was born for. Beside him stands 21-year-old Octavian, pale and sick, barely able to sit his horse. The veterans whisper. Caesar's heir looks like he might faint before the battle even starts. They're not wrong. Octavian is sick, really sick. Some accounts say he has to be carried to his tent. This is not his day to shine. This is Antony's day. The armies clash. It's confusing, brutal. Legions that train together now butchering each other in the mud. On the right flank, Brutus smashes through Octavian's forces, crushes them. Octavian's camp is overrun. His troops scatter. For a moment, Caesar's heir might actually die here, cut down by Caesar's killers. But on the left flank, Antony destroys Cassius's forces completely, drives them back, slaughters them, sends them running. Cassius can't see what's happening on the other side through the dust and chaos. All he knows is his troops are broken. He climbs a hill with his freedman Pindurus. From there, Cassius watches what he thinks is total defeat. He doesn't know Brutus won on the other flank. He doesn't know this battle is actually a draw. He hands Pindurus his sword. Pindurus doesn't want to do it, but Cassius insists. He's not going to let Antony capture him. Better to die free than live as a trophy. Pindurus drives the blade through Cassius's neck. The man who organized Caesar's assassination dies by the same method. A blade, a friend's hand, quick and brutal. When Brutus finds Cassius's body, he weeps, not just for his friend, for what it means. Without Cassius, Brutus is alone. 3 weeks pass. The armies stare at each other. Brutus doesn't want to fight again. His supply lines are solid. Time favors him. If he waits, the triumvirate runs out of food. But his officers pressure him to attack. Brutus makes his fatal mistake. He listens. The second Battle of Philippi is nothing like the first. This time, Antony destroys everything. Brutus's legions shatter. His officers die. His soldiers surrender or flee. Brutus knows what's coming. Capture. Parade through Rome. Execution like a criminal. He won't give them that satisfaction. As darkness falls, Brutus finds a quiet spot with a few loyal friends. They try to convince him to run, to hide, to keep fighting. But Brutus is done. He asks one of his friends to hold a sword. Then he runs onto it. Caesar's last assassin dies on his own blade. When they find Brutus's body, Antony reportedly covers it with his own purple cloak. A gesture of respect. They were enemies, but they were Romans. Octavian has no such sentimentality. When Octavian sees Brutus's corpse, he orders the head cut off, sent back to Rome, thrown at the base of Caesar's statue. This is the difference between them. Antony fights for glory. Octavian fights for revenge. Antony can respect a worthy enemy. Octavian just wants them dead and humiliated. Caesar's assassins are finished. The republic they died for? It died with them. Now comes the real question. What happens when the external enemy is gone? They still have Lepidus, technically. But everyone knows he's a joke, a placeholder with some legions but no real power. So really, it's down to two: Antony and Octavian, the warrior and the politician. And Rome isn't big enough for both of them. The armies march back toward Italy, victory celebrations, triumph. But underneath the cheers, everyone knows what's coming. Another war, another betrayal. Antony heads east to secure the provinces and collect tribute. Someone has to pay for all those legions. He takes the wealthy, glamorous assignment: Egypt, Syria, Greece, the lands where Alexander once ruled. Octavian gets Italy, the scraps, the thankless job of settling veterans on land, which means kicking Italian farmers off their property. People are going to hate him for this. But here's the problem. While Octavian is trying to hold Italy together, Antony's family decides to make trouble. Antony's brother Lucius and his wife Fulvia, that same woman who stabbed Cicero's tongue, start stirring up the displaced Italian farmers, turning them against Octavian. Is this Antony's plan? Or is his family acting alone? Nobody knows, but the result is the same: civil war, again. Except this time, it's not against Caesar's killers. It's Roman against Roman. Triumvirate against triumvirate. And the alliance that avenged Caesar is starting to crack. Chapter 7. The Siege of Perusia. When food is ash, when kin turn prey, who leaves the city at break of day? Winter 41 to 40 BC. Perusia, Italy. The city is starving. It's been months since Octavian surrounded the walls. No food gets in. No one gets out. Inside, people are eating dogs, rats, leather. Some whisper about darker things, about bodies that disappear, about meat that doesn't taste like animal. This is what happens when Roman fights Roman over scraps of power. After Philippi, Antony went east to collect tribute. Egypt, Syria, Greece. The glamorous assignment. Octavian got stuck settling Caesar's veterans on Italian land. Problem? The land is already occupied by Italian farmers who've owned it for generations. Octavian has to choose: betray the veterans who keep him alive, or steal from Italian families. He chooses the veterans. Soldiers get land, farmers get evicted. Italy erupts in rage. Antony's brother Lucius and his wife Fulvia see an opportunity. They rally the displaced farmers, stir up rebellion, claim Octavian is a tyrant. Is this Antony's plan? Or is his family acting alone while he's distracted in the east? Nobody knows. But war starts anyway. Lucius Antonius raises 8 legions, marches on Rome, claims he's defending Italian rights. But really, he's testing whether Octavian can actually fight without Antony. Octavian responds fast. He has Agrippa now, his childhood friend who's proven to be a military genius. Together, they outmaneuver Lucius, cut off his supplies, force him to retreat into the hill town of Perusia. Then they surround it. Winter sets in. Perusia has walls but no food. Octavian builds 11 miles of earthworks, trenches, palisades, guard towers. Nothing gets through. Inside, Lucius watches his troops weaken. He sends messengers begging Antony to send help. But Antony is in Alexandria with Cleopatra. Either he doesn't care, or the messages never reach him. Either way, Perusia is on its own. Months pass. The cold bites. People die. Not from fighting, from hunger. The kind of slow, grinding death that breaks spirits before bodies. Lucius tries a breakout. His troops are too weak. They barely make it to the walls before Octavian drives them back. By late winter, Perusia can't hold anymore. The riddle answers itself. When food becomes ash and neighbors eye each other with desperate hunger, who walks out? Lucius Antonius surrenders. He walks out expecting execution. Octavian's troops expect it too. They want blood. But Octavian does something unexpected. He spares Lucius, sends him away alive, spares most of the troops too. A calculated move. A message to Antony. Your brother started this. I finished it. But I'm not a monster. Except the city of Perusia. Octavius lets his troops sack it, burn it, loot it, slaughter the city council members who supported Lucius. Some accounts claim Octavian personally executes 300 senators and knights on an altar dedicated to Caesar. Human sacrifice to appease his father's ghost. Other sources say that's enemy propaganda. Either way, Perusia burns. And everyone in Italy learns what happens when you oppose Octavian. But where's Antony during all this? Egypt, with Cleopatra. The queen who once enchanted Julius Caesar now has her hooks in Antony. When Antony finally hears about Perusia, he's furious. Not at Octavian. At his brother for starting a war without permission. At his wife Fulvia for meddling. Fulvia flees to Greece. Antony meets her there. They fight. Bitter, vicious arguments. Shortly after, Fulvia dies. Some say illness. Others whisper the timing is convenient. With Fulvia dead, nothing stops Antony and Octavian from reconciling. They meet at Brundisium in 40 BC. Everyone expects war. Instead, they make peace. And to seal it, Antony marries Octavian's sister, Octavia. Think about this. Your wife just died under suspicious circumstances. You just fought a proxy war against your political partner. And now you're marrying that partner's sister to prove you're friends. This is Roman politics. Marriage isn't about love. It's about alliances. Octavia is beautiful, intelligent, well-respected. She's also a hostage in silk. For a while, it works. Antony and Octavian divide the empire. Antony takes the east. Octavian takes the west. They pretend to trust each other, but everyone knows it's temporary, because Antony keeps going back to Egypt, back to Cleopatra. And every time he does, the rumors grow. Is Antony abandoning Rome for an Egyptian queen? Is he planning to split the empire and rule the East as a foreign king? Octavian watches, waits. Lets Antony dig his own grave. Meanwhile, Octavian consolidates power in the West, winning over the Senate, securing legions, getting stronger while Antony gets distracted. Perusia taught Octavian something crucial. He doesn't need to be a great warrior. He just needs to be more patient, more willing to wait for his enemies to destroy themselves. And in Alexandria, Cleopatra is waiting. The queen who had Julius Caesar at her feet. The woman who turned Rome's greatest general into her devoted servant. Now she has Mark Antony in her web. The question isn't whether he'll go back to her. The question is what happens to Rome when he does. Chapter 8. Cleopatra's Web. When gods breathe wine and mortals chase desire, a queen's embrace will set an empire on fire. 41 BC. Tarsus, Asia Minor. Mark Antony summons Cleopatra to answer charges. She aided his enemies during the civil war. That's the official story. But everyone knows what's really happening. Antony needs money. Egypt has money. The richest kingdom in the Mediterranean. And Cleopatra controls it all. Antony expects a humble queen arriving to beg forgiveness. That's not what he gets. Cleopatra's barge appears on the Cydnus River, like something from a fever dream. Purple sails, silver oars, the deck covered in gold and jewels. Musicians play, incense burns, and Cleopatra reclines beneath a canopy dressed as Aphrodite, goddess of love, surrounded by boys dressed as cupids fanning her with peacock feathers. It's theatre, spectacle, a calculated seduction aimed at one man. And it works. Antony is 42 years old. He's been married 3 times. He's conquered Gaul, fought at Philippi, commanded legions across the known world. But he's never seen anything like her. Cleopatra is 30. She's not classically beautiful by Roman standards, but she has something better than beauty. Intelligence, wit, the ability to make a man feel like he's the only person in the world. She speaks 9 languages. She studied philosophy, mathematics, astronomy. She can discuss military strategy and Egyptian poetry in the same breath. And she knows exactly how to make a Roman general feel powerful while subtly controlling every move he makes. They feast that first night. Cleopatra's banquet makes Roman dinners look like peasant meals. Gold plates, exotic foods, entertainment that costs more than some cities' annual budgets. Within weeks, Antony is living in Alexandria like an Egyptian prince instead of a Roman consul. Think of it this way. Imagine a CEO abandoning headquarters to move into a competitor's penthouse because the parties are better. That's what Rome sees. But Cleopatra isn't just throwing parties. She's playing a long game. She needs Antony's military power to secure her throne. Egypt has rivals. Threats circle. Cleopatra needs Roman legions to crush them all. And Antony needs Egypt's wealth to maintain his armies and compete with Octavian. It's perfect symbiosis. Except Rome hates it. Romans envy Egypt's wealth, mock its customs, fear its power, and they absolutely despise the idea of a Roman general becoming an Egyptian queen's lapdog. The propaganda writes itself. Octavian doesn't even have to try hard. Antony is abandoning Roman values, dressing in Egyptian clothes, participating in Egyptian ceremonies, fathering children with a foreign queen. Meanwhile, Octavian plays the faithful Roman, modest, virtuous, dedicated to tradition. He's not sleeping with exotic queens. He's settling veterans, building infrastructure, being boring and dependable. And that's exactly what Rome wants right now. Boring, dependable, Roman. Antony doesn't see the trap. He's too distracted by Cleopatra's charm, Egypt's luxury, and the intoxicating feeling of being treated like a god. Because that's what Cleopatra does. She doesn't just seduce Antony physically. She seduces his ego. She tells him he's greater than Caesar, more powerful than Alexander, destined to rule the East as a divine king. And Antony starts to believe it. He stages ceremonies where he crowns Cleopatra and their children as rulers of Rome's eastern provinces. He declares Caesarion, Cleopatra's son by Julius Caesar, as Caesar's true heir. He's essentially creating a rival empire based in Alexandria. Does he realize how this looks to Rome? Does he care? Nobody knows. But Octavian is watching, taking notes, collecting evidence. Because every ceremony, every Egyptian feast, every public display between Antony and Cleopatra gives Octavian more ammunition. The alliance between Antony and Octavian was always temporary, built on the shared goal of destroying Caesar's killers. With Brutus and Cassius dead, there's nothing holding them together. And Octavian isn't afraid anymore. He has Italy. He has the Senate. He has the moral high ground. And most importantly, he has Antony's own actions as proof that Antony has betrayed Rome. Years pass. Antony spends most of them in Egypt, occasionally returning to Roman territories, but always going back to Cleopatra. His marriage to Octavia, Octavian's sister, is a joke. She waits in Rome while her husband plays house with an Egyptian queen. Octavian uses this perfectly. He positions Octavia as the faithful Roman wife, the victim, the symbol of how Antony has abandoned Roman values for foreign degeneracy. The year is 32 BC now. Antony has been with Cleopatra for nearly a decade. He's about to make a decision that will give Octavian everything he needs. One document, one mistake, one moment of arrogance that will turn Rome's fury against him. And Octavian is ready to exploit it in ways that will make propaganda history. Chapter 9. Rome's Propaganda War. Words cut deeper than any blade can show, when truth and lies both serve the greater blow. 34 to 32 BC. Rome and Alexandria. Octavian has a problem. He wants to destroy Antony, but he can't just declare war on a Roman general. That's civil war. Romans are sick of civil war. If Octavian starts another one, he risks losing public support. So he needs to make this about something else. Not Roman versus Roman, but Roman versus foreign threat. He needs to make this about Cleopatra. The propaganda campaign starts slowly. Whispers in the forum, stories between senators, coins with subtle messages. Octavian doesn't attack directly. He's too smart for that. He lets Antony destroy himself. And Antony obliges beautifully. In 34 BC, Antony stages the donations of Alexandria, a ceremony in the city's gymnasium. He sits on a golden throne beside Cleopatra, dressed as the goddess Isis. Their children sit on smaller thrones. Then Antony makes declarations that shock Rome. He proclaims Cleopatra Queen of Kings. He names Caesarion, her son by Julius Caesar, as King of Kings, and Caesar's legitimate heir. A direct challenge to Octavian, who built his identity on being Caesar's only son. Then it gets worse. Antony divides Rome's eastern territories, gives them to Cleopatra and their children, Syria to one son, Armenia to another. These territories belong to Rome. Roman soldiers bled for them, and Antony just gave them away like party favors. When news reaches Rome, people are horrified. Octavian doesn't need to exaggerate. The facts are damning enough. He holds Senate meetings where senators express outrage. Coins appear showing Antony in Egyptian dress. Pamphlets circulate describing his lavish lifestyle while Roman veterans starve. Stories spread about drunken parties, Egyptian sorcery, Cleopatra's unnatural influence. Some of it's true, some exaggerated, some completely fabricated. Doesn't matter. The narrative is set. Antony has been corrupted by an Eastern witch queen. Think of it this way. Imagine a political opponent handed you months of documented evidence of them betraying national interests. You wouldn't need to lie. You just make sure everyone saw the receipts. That's what Octavian does. But he needs something bigger, something undeniable. He gets it from Antony's will. In Rome, important citizens deposit wills with the Vestal Virgins, sacred priestesses who guard them. It's supposed to be inviolable, until Octavian convinces them to break that trust. How? Nobody knows. Threats, bribes, appeals to patriotism. Whatever the method, the Vestals hand over Antony's sealed will. Octavian reads it and realizes he's just won. He calls a special Senate session, reads Antony's will aloud, every damning line. Antony leaves huge portions of Rome's eastern territories to Cleopatra's children, foreign heirs inheriting Roman conquests. He requests burial in Alexandria, not Rome. He recognizes Caesarion as Caesar's legitimate son, effectively disinheriting Octavian. The Senate sits in stunned silence. Then outrage erupts. Real fury. Even senators who dislike Octavian can't defend this. Antony has written proof that he plans to betray Rome. Octavian lets them rage. Then he makes his move. He doesn't call for war against Antony. Too divisive. Instead, he proposes something clever. Declare war on Cleopatra, on Egypt, on the foreign queen who's corrupted their general. The Senate votes overwhelmingly in favor. It's brilliant. Legally, this isn't civil war. It's a foreign war. But everyone knows Antony will fight for Cleopatra. He has to. His entire power base is in the east. His wealth comes from Egypt. So by declaring war on Cleopatra, Octavian forces Antony to choose. Rome or Egypt. Antony chooses Egypt. And that's when Rome turns completely against him. Now he's not just a general who married a foreign queen. He's a traitor who chose a foreign power over his own people. Octavian mobilizes Italy, not through force, through propaganda. He asks for volunteers, for donations, for oaths of loyalty, and they come. Not because people love Octavian, but because they hate the idea of an Egyptian queen controlling a Roman general. By 32 BC, over 700 senators pledged loyalty to Octavian. The consuls flee to Alexandria. Octavian becomes the de facto ruler of Rome without formally taking power. He has legitimacy, Senate backing, the moral authority. Antony has military strength, veteran legions, Egypt's wealth. On paper, he's stronger. The fleets gather through summer. Antony moves his massive war galleys to Greece. Octavian follows with Agrippa commanding his navy. They stare at each other across the water at Actium, waiting, maneuvering, both knowing this decides everything. Antony's trapped in the bay, his supplies cut off, his troops deserting. He has one desperate plan to break through and escape. But Agrippa's fleet blocks the mouth of the Gulf. And on September the 2nd, 31 BC, the wind finally picks up. The moment arrives. Everything Octavian built, everything Antony sacrificed, everything Rome will become. It all comes down to the next few hours. Chapter 10. The Battle of Actium. When steel meets sea and silence drowns the cries, the dawn will judge whose dream survives. September the 2nd, 31, BC, Actium, Greece. We're back where we started. The moment that decides everything. Antony's massive war galleys face Octavian's lighter fleet across the narrow mouth of the Ambracian Gulf. The morning sun glints off armor and bronze rams. Thousands of men grip their weapons, sweat mixing with salt spray. The wind picks up from the north exactly as Antony hoped. This is his one chance. Break through Agrippa's blockade, get to open water, escape to Egypt with enough forces to regroup, or die trying. Octavian stands on his command ship, gripping the rail. His face is pale. His stomach churns. Everything he's built over 13 years comes down to the next few hours. If Antony breaks through, it's over. Around noon, Antony gives the signal. Trumpets blast across the water. His massive galleys surge forward, oars pounding, war towers bristle with archers. Soldiers crowd the decks in full armor, ready to board and kill. Agrippa's fleet responds immediately, but they're not engaging head-on. They're circling, harassing, darting in like sharks, then pulling back, using their speed to avoid Antony's rams. Antony's strategy depends on his heavy ships punching through in brutal combat. But Agrippa refuses to fight that way. Every time Antony's galleys try to close distance, the Roman ships dance away, loosing volleys of arrows and fire. The battle becomes chaos, ships ramming, soldiers leaping between decks, fighting with swords and spears, fire arrows arcing through smoke, men screaming as burning pitch spreads, turning ships into floating pyres. One of Antony's galleys catches fire. Men jump overboard in full armour. Some surface, thrashing. Most sink like stones, dragged down by bronze and iron. Antony's veterans fight like demons, men who followed him for years. But they're tired, sick, hungry. Months trapped in this bay has weakened them. Agrippa's crews are fresh, well-fed, motivated. The battle rages for hours. Neither side gaining advantage, ships burning, men dying, the water turning red. Then it happens. Cleopatra's squadron, 60 Egyptian ships carrying the treasury, suddenly breaks formation. Purple sails unfurling. They cut through the smoke, heading south toward open water, away from the battle, away from Antony. Antony's veterans see it. They shout, roar. Confusion ripples through the fleet. Is this betrayal? Is the queen abandoning them? Or is this the plan? Nobody knows. All they know is their Egyptian allies are fleeing while they're still dying. Antony stands frozen on his flagship, watching Cleopatra's ships disappear. His mind races. Every second he hesitates, more men die. Every second she sails farther away, escape becomes harder. If he stays, he leads a doomed fleet. If he follows her, he abandons the men who've bled for him. But if he doesn't follow her, he loses Egypt, loses the treasury, loses everything that keeps him alive. He makes his choice. Antony abandons his flagship, leaps onto a smaller, faster ship, shouts orders to pursue Cleopatra. A handful of ships follow him, maybe 40. The rest of his fleet watches their commander sail away. The effect is instant and catastrophic. Some captains keep fighting, refusing to believe what they witnessed. Others drop their oars immediately, raising hands in surrender. What's the point? Their commander abandoned them. The Egyptian gold is gone. They're alone facing an enemy that smells blood. By mid-afternoon, it's over. Antony's fleet is destroyed or captured. Bodies float in bloodied water. Octavian stands on his command ship, still pale, still sick. But he's won, without commanding a single maneuver, without swinging a sword. He watched Agrippa execute the plan while Antony chose love over loyalty. A week later, Antony's land forces, 19 legions camped on shore, surrender without a fight. The best troops in the east. They just watch their general sail away, leaving them to starve or submit. They choose Octavian instead. In one day, the balance of power shifts permanently. Antony loses his fleet, his army, his credibility. Octavian gains everything. Antony and Cleopatra aren't dead yet. They escaped back to Egypt with the treasury. They still have Alexandria's wealth. They could theoretically rebuild. But everyone knows it's over. Antony's troops won't follow a general who abandoned them. Rome won't forgive a traitor who chose an Egyptian queen over his own men. Octavian doesn't chase immediately. He's patient, methodical. Time is on his side. Every day that passes, Antony gets weaker, more isolated, more desperate. Every day, more allies switch sides or flee. And inside Alexandria, behind those massive walls, Antony and Cleopatra face the question they've been avoiding since those purple sails turned south. How do you die when there's nowhere left to run? And who goes first? Chapter 11. The deaths of Antony and Cleopatra. Two lovers, one throne, and nowhere left to hide. When Alexandria's walls can't save your pride. August, 30 BC. Alexandria, Egypt. The city is dying from the inside out. Octavian's army sits outside the walls, not attacking, just waiting. Antony has nowhere to go, no reinforcements, no allies, just time running out. Inside the palace, Antony is falling apart. He's 53 years old, Rome's greatest general. Now he spends his days drunk, raging at servants, blaming everyone but himself for Actium. Cleopatra watches from the palace. She's 39. She survived palace coups, civil wars, Roman politics. She seduced Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, and she's calculating her endgame. Octavian doesn't want to kill her. He wants to parade her through Rome in chains, display her in his triumph. She's not going to let that happen. She sends messengers, secret negotiations. Octavian is cold, polite, non-committal. He'll protect her children. Just surrender. Come to Rome. Trust him. Cleopatra doesn't trust anyone. Meanwhile, Antony makes one last desperate attempt. He sends Octavian a challenge. Single combat. Winner takes everything. Octavian's response: Antony has many ways to die. Translation: I'm not fighting you. You're already defeated. Go kill yourself. It's the ultimate humiliation. The great warrior begging for a fight, and the sickly politician won't even acknowledge him as a threat. Antony's troops desert. First a few, then dozens, then entire units. They surrender to Octavian. Better to submit than die for a lost cause. By late July, Antony has almost nothing left. His fleet surrendered. His cavalry switched sides. Alexandria is surrounded. Then comes the final betrayal. Cleopatra locks herself in her tomb with 2 handmaidens and her treasure. Bars the doors. Someone tells Antony that Cleopatra is dead. Whether it's true, a misunderstanding, or a lie, nobody knows. But Antony believes it. And something breaks inside him. He's lost everything. Rome, his army, his honor, the woman he abandoned his life for. What's left? Antony calls for his servant Eros, asks him to end it. Eros takes Antony's sword, but instead of striking his master, Eros turns the blade on himself, falls dead, a final act of loyalty. Antony stares at the body, then picks up the sword. He drives it into his own stomach. Blood flows, but the strike isn't clean. He stabbed himself, but not fatally. He's lying there bleeding when a messenger arrives. Cleopatra isn't dead. She's alive, in her tomb, asking for him. Imagine that moment. You just stabbed yourself because you thought she was dead. Now you find out she's alive, but you're dying from a wound you inflicted. Antony's men carry him to the tomb. Cleopatra won't open the doors, so they use ropes, haul him up the side of the building, pull him through a window. Cleopatra cradles him as he dies, blood soaking her dress. He tells her not to mourn him. He tells her he's had a good life. Then Mark Antony, Rome's greatest general, dies in his lover's arms, not in battle, bleeding out from his own hand in a foreign tomb. Hours later, Octavian's men trick their way inside. Cleopatra tries to stab herself, but they wrestle the dagger away. She's captured, alive. She's under guard now. Octavian visits personally, polite, respectful, promises her children will be safe, but Cleopatra knows what's coming. The ship to Rome, the chains, the triumph, becoming a spectacle. She's not ending it as Octavian's circus act. For days, she plays along, eats, drinks, seems resigned. Her guards relax, no threat. August 12th, 30 BC. 10 days after Antony's death, a servant arrives with a basket of figs. The guards check it. Just fruit. They let it through. Cleopatra dismisses everyone except her 2 handmaidens, Iris and Charmian, the women who would rather die than see their queen humiliated. What happens next, nobody knows for certain. Some accounts say Cleopatra pulls an asp from the basket, a small Egyptian cobra. She lets it bite her arm. The venom works quickly. Paralysis, death. Other sources claim poison hidden in a hairpin, or powder mixed with wine. The truth doesn't matter. What matters is the result. When the guards check on her, they find 3 bodies. Cleopatra lies on her golden couch, dressed in full royal regalia, crown on her head, looking like she's sleeping. Iris is dead at her feet. Charmian is dying, barely conscious, still adjusting Cleopatra's crown. One of the guards asks Charmian if this is fitting for a queen. Charmian's last words, "It is well, and fitting for a princess descended from so many kings." Then she dies. Octavian arrives too late. He stares at Cleopatra's body, the woman who seduced Caesar, who controlled Antony, who almost split the Roman Empire. Dead by her own hand, he's furious. Not because she's dead, because she won. She denied him his triumph, the centerpiece of his victory parade. Gone. Octavian buries her with honor, places her beside Antony in the tomb she built. Even in death, they're together, romantic, tragic, the kind of story that will echo through history. But he doesn't bury her legacy. He takes her children with Antony, 3 royal heirs to Egypt's throne, and Caesarion, Cleopatra's son by Julius Caesar, the boy she proclaimed as Caesar's true heir. Octavian hunts him down, finds him fleeing to India, brings him back, and executes him. Can't have rival heirs to Caesar claiming Rome. Now Octavian stands in Alexandria, with Egypt's treasure at his feet, 3 royal children in his custody, and the entire eastern Mediterranean under his control. Rome's greatest rival destroyed, her queen dead, her wealth his. He's 23 years old. He controls the Roman world, and he's about to return to Rome in triumph. But how do you celebrate conquering Egypt when the star of your show killed herself? How do you prove you defeated the dangerous Eastern Queen when all you have is a corpse? Simple. You change the story, and Octavian is very, very good at changing the story. Chapter 12. Parading Egypt in Chains. When gold and children march through Roman streets, the victor writes the tale that history repeats. 29 BC, Rome. The city has never seen anything like this. 3 days of triumph. 3 separate parades celebrating Octavian's victories in Dalmatia, at Actium, and over Egypt. The streets are packed. Citizens hang from windows. Children perch on their fathers' shoulders. Everyone wants to see the spectacle. This is how Rome celebrates conquest. This is how victors become gods. The procession winds through the city. Wagons piled with Egyptian treasure, gold, silver, jewels, statues of Egyptian gods, exotic animals, giraffes, elephants, creatures most Romans have only heard about in stories. Then come the prisoners. Not Cleopatra. She's dead. But Octavian found a way around that problem. He commissioned a massive statue of Cleopatra, life-sized, painted to look real, with a golden asp coiled around her arm. The crowd roars when they see it. The dangerous Eastern Queen, who almost destroyed Rome, reduced to a prop in someone else's victory parade. But the real prizes walk behind the statue. Cleopatra's children with Antony. Alexander Helios, age 10. Cleopatra Selene, his twin sister, and Ptolemy Philadelphus, age 6. They walk in golden chains, dressed in their royal Egyptian clothing, looking terrified. These are children, royal children, but still children, and they're being paraded through Rome like captured animals, while thousands of people jeer and celebrate their mother's defeat. Think about that. Imagine being 10 years old, watching your parents die, then being dragged to a foreign city and marched through streets while crowds scream insults at you. That's what Octavian does to Cleopatra's children. The crowd loves it. They see Egyptian royalty in chains. They see proof that Rome conquered the richest kingdom in the world. They see Octavian as the man who ended decades of civil war and brought them the greatest prize imaginable, Egypt. The wealth is staggering. Octavian confiscated the entire Ptolemaic treasury, centuries of accumulated gold. He uses it to pay his troops, settle veterans, fund construction projects, stabilize Rome's economy. For the first time in decades, money floods the markets. Credit loosens, debts are easier to pay, the economy booms, and everyone credits Octavian. He's not emperor yet. Officially, he's still just a citizen, a senator, someone who restored order after civil war. But everyone knows the truth. Octavian controls everything. He has the largest army, the most money, the Senate's loyalty, the people's support, and most importantly, he has the narrative. He's not a tyrant like Caesar. He's not a foreign corrupted traitor like Antony. He's the faithful Roman who saved the Republic from its enemies. That's the story he tells. That's the story Rome believes. During the triumph, Octavian doesn't dress as a king. He wears traditional Roman clothing. He makes sacrifices to Jupiter. He honors the old gods and the old ways. Everything about his presentation screams, "I'm one of you. I'm Roman. I'm restoring what we lost." But underneath the traditional costume, he's consolidating absolute power. He stations legions near Rome, loyal to him personally. He controls Egypt directly as his personal province, not the Senate's. He appoints loyal supporters to key positions. He's building an empire while calling it a republic. And the brilliant part, most people don't care. They're tired of civil war, tired of political chaos. If Octavian wants to call himself first citizen instead of king, fine. As long as the peace holds and the money flows, Rome will accept whatever system keeps them safe. The triumph lasts 3 days. By the end, Octavian has cemented his position as Rome's undisputed master. He's 33 years old. He's defeated every rival, conquered Rome's greatest enemy, accumulated more wealth and power than anyone in Roman history. What happens to Cleopatra's children? Octavian gives them to his sister Octavia, the same woman Antony abandoned for Cleopatra. Now she raises Cleopatra's children as her own. It's mercy or cruelty, maybe both. But Egypt never recovers. Octavian takes it as his personal property, the richest province in the empire, owned by one man. The wealth of the pharaohs now funds Roman ambitions, and with that wealth, Octavian is about to transform Rome itself. Marble temples will rise where wooden structures stood. Grand forums will replace cramped alleys. The city will shine like never before. But marble masks more than decay. It hides what Octavian does to anyone who questions him. The exiles, the disappearances, the quiet murders. Rome is about to learn that their savior has a very dark side, and he's just getting started. Chapter 13. Rome rebuilt in marble. But at what cost? When temples gleam and forums shine in gold, the blood beneath the marble stays untold. 27 BC Rome. The city is transforming. Everywhere you look, construction. Scaffolding climbs temple walls. Marble blocks arrive by the cartload. The sound of hammers and chisels echoes through the streets. Rome is being remade, and Octavian is the mind behind it. The planner, the patron, the man who decides what rises and what falls. He will later boast that he found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. And every hammer strike now makes that prophecy real. The Forum gets a massive renovation. New temples rise to Apollo on the Palatine and to the deified Julius Caesar. Even the unfinished temple of Mars Ultor already looms in marble promise. The theatre of Marcellus climbs slowly skyward, a monument in progress to his fallen nephew. Aqueducts bring fresh water. Public baths multiply. Roads improve. It's beautiful. It's impressive. And it's calculated, because every temple, every statue, every inscription carries a message. This is Octavian's Rome. He paid for it. He built it. He saved it. The city itself becomes propaganda carved in stone. But here's what the marble hides. Behind the gleaming facades, Octavian is ruthlessly consolidating power. Anyone who threatens his power vanishes. By exile, quiet dismissal, or an illness that arrives too conveniently to be chance. Years later, the poet Ovid would learn how cold Augustus's mercy could be, banished to Tomis for a poem and a mystery he never explained. Others aren't so fortunate. Senators who question too loudly have accidents. Generals who win too many victories get quietly retired. Anyone with too much money, too much influence, or too much ambition learns to keep their head down. Think about it this way. You're living in a beautiful city, clean water, great entertainment, public services. But you know that if you say the wrong thing, you might disappear. That's the trade-off. Safety and prosperity in exchange for silence and obedience. Most Romans accept it. After decades of civil war, they're desperate for stability. If the price is keeping their mouths shut, fine. Better than another war. And Octavian is smart about it. He doesn't parade around like a king. He doesn't wear a crown. He plays the role of the reluctant leader, the man who just wants to restore the Republic but keeps getting begged to stay in power. It's a role he performs to perfection. The humble servant of the Republic. In 27 BC, Octavian makes his most brilliant political move. He offers to resign, to give up all his powers and let the Senate govern again. The Senate, terrified, refuses. They beg him to stay. They give him new titles, new honors, and most importantly, a new name. Augustus. It means the revered one. It has religious overtones. Divine approval. It's not quite calling him a god, but it's getting close. From now on, Octavian is Augustus, and Augustus is Rome. He controls the armies. He controls Egypt's wealth. He curates the Senate's ranks and quietly ensures that loyal men win office. He controls the narrative. But officially, he's just the first citizen, just a senator like any other. It's genius. He has all the power of a king without any of the dangers of being called one. Nobody can accuse him of tyranny because technically he's not a tyrant. He's just a concerned citizen serving the Republic. The marble city gleams. Money flows freely. Debts are paid. And the markets hum with trade. The borders are secure. Romans walk through gleaming forums and beautiful temples and think, this is what peace looks like. But beneath the marble, the foundation is blood and fear. Augustus rules with a soft hand in public and an iron fist in private. Cross him, and you disappear. Serve him, and you prosper. And it works. For decades it works. Rome enters an age of peace, the peace of Augustus, with no civil wars and no armies marching on the city. Just order, prosperity, and the quiet understanding that Augustus is in charge. As the years pass, Augustus needs Rome to see him as the model of virtue. He introduces laws on marriage, adultery, and family, lecturing senators on morality even as he struggles to enforce it at home. But years later, his own daughter Julia will shatter that image. A scandal so public it threatens the illusion of Roman virtue he built in marble. Not a military threat, not a political rival, something far more dangerous. A scandal that threatens to expose the perfect mask he spent decades building. Chapter 14. The perfect mask, the ruthless hand. Beneath the marble's hush, desire takes flame. The Father's house will never sound the same. 2 BC. Rome. Augustus is 61 years old. He's ruled Rome for nearly 3 decades. Built an empire. Transformed the city. Created an age of peace. He's the model of Roman virtue, the father of the nation, the man who saved the Republic. And his daughter is destroying everything. Julia is 37, beautiful, intelligent, witty. She's been married 3 times. All political marriages, all arranged by her father to secure alliances and produce heirs. She never had a choice in any of them. Her first husband, Marcellus, Augustus's nephew and chosen heir, died young. Her second, Agrippa, Augustus's best general and friend, was decades older. They had 5 children together before he died too. Now she's married to Tiberius, Augustus's stepson, a cold and bitter man she can't stand. And Julia has had enough of being a political pawn. She's been having affairs, lots of them, publicly, scandalously, with senators, poets, actors. Rumors spread that she hosted secret gatherings in the Forum at night, stories of revels and lovers that shocked even Rome's jaded elite. She's not even trying to hide it anymore. Think about this. Your father has spent decades building a reputation as the guardian of traditional Roman values. He's passed laws making adultery a criminal offense. He's exiled people for less than what you're doing. And you're making him look like a fool. It's rebellion. It's revenge. It's Julia screaming that she's tired of being used as breeding stock for the imperial succession. The rumors reach Augustus. At first, he doesn't believe them. Then he investigates. The evidence is overwhelming. Multiple witnesses, names, dates. Details that make his blood run cold. His daughter, the woman he's used as a symbol of Roman womanhood, has been violating his own laws for years. Augustus faces an impossible choice. Ignore it and look weak. Everyone knows about Julia's affairs by now. If he doesn't act, he's a hypocrite who enforces laws on others but not his own family. Or punish her and destroy the perfect family image he spent decades building. He chooses punishment, not because he wants to, because he has to. The mask of virtue demands it. Augustus exiles Julia to Pandateria, a tiny island off the Italian coast. No visitors, no luxuries, just isolation and shame. Her mother Scribonia, whom Augustus divorced decades ago, voluntarily joins her in exile. But that's not enough. Augustus needs to send a message. Several of her lovers are punished, some exiled, and a few compelled to take their own lives. One of them is Iulus Antonius, the son of Mark Antony. Augustus raised him after Actium, showed him mercy, gave him a career, and Iulus repaid him by sleeping with his daughter. Iulus is forced to commit suicide. The son of Augustus's greatest enemy killed for the same reason his father died, choosing the wrong woman. Rome is shocked. Augustus, the merciful father of the nation, exiled his own daughter and killed her lovers. The perfect family image shatters. Everyone sees the ruthlessness beneath the marble facade. But here's the twisted part. Augustus never forgives her, ever. Even years later, when people beg him to show mercy, to let Julia come home, he refuses. She dies in exile after years of isolation, never forgiven and never seeing her father again. And her daughter, also named Julia, makes the same mistakes. Affairs, scandal, defiance. Augustus exiles her too. 2 generations of Julia, both punished for refusing to play their roles in Augustus's perfect Roman narrative. It's almost like the women in his family are trying to tell him something. That his laws about morality, his lectures about virtue, his perfect mask of traditional values, it's all hypocrisy. Because Augustus himself wasn't exactly faithful. He had affairs. He divorced wives when they were inconvenient. He built his power on violence and manipulation. But he's a man. He's the emperor. Different rules apply. The scandal ages Augustus. He's not the calculating young Octavian anymore. He's an old man watching his family fall apart, watching his carefully constructed image crack. But there's no time to grieve. Because while Augustus deals with family scandals, something is happening on the empire's northern border that will haunt him far worse than any daughter's rebellion. AD 9, Germania. Roughly 17,000 men, 3 legions and their auxiliaries, marched into the Teutoburg forest under Publius Quinctilius Varus. They trust their German guide, a chieftain named Arminius, who served in Roman auxiliary forces, a man they consider an ally. They have no idea Arminius is leading them to slaughter, that the forest ahead hides thousands of Germanic warriors, that in the next 3 days, 3 entire legions will be wiped from existence. And Augustus, the man who conquered Egypt and brought peace to the world, is about to learn that some wars no general can win. Chapter 15. The Teutoburg Nightmare. 3 eagles march into the trees, but how many return to the seas? AD 9. Germania. The Teutoburg forest. It's raining. Has been for days. Cold, miserable rain that soaks through everything. Roughly 17,000 people, 3 legions with auxiliaries and camp followers, slog through narrow forest paths, hemmed in by trees so thick they block out the sun. This is nothing like fighting in open fields. Here, the legions are stretched out in a column miles long. Carts baggage, camp followers, all mixed with soldiers who can barely see 10 feet ahead. Publius Quinctilius Varus commands them. He was an experienced magistrate and provincial governor, more at ease as an administrator than as a field commander. Augustus appointed Varus to Germania in AD 7 to impose Roman law, levy taxes, and organize the territory as a Roman province. Varus thinks he's succeeding, collecting taxes, settling disputes, bringing Roman order. He's so confident he's marching through hostile territory with Germanic auxiliaries as guides. One of those guides is Arminius, a Germanic chieftain from the Cherusci tribe. He served in Roman auxiliary forces for years, earned citizenship, fought beside Roman legions. Varus trusts him completely. Arminius is about to destroy 3 legions. Arminius has spent months forging a secret alliance of tribes, uniting them under one promise, that Roman blood will pay for their years of submission. Arminius tells Varus there's a rebellion, a tribe causing trouble, Nothing serious. The route takes them through the Teutoburg forest. It's a trap. Germanic warriors are waiting. Thousands of them, hidden in the trees, watching the Roman column stretch out along narrow paths, unable to form ranks, vulnerable. On the first day, the attacks start. Ambushes, hit and run. Germanic warriors burst from the trees, throw javelins, kill a few Romans, disappear. Then silence. Then another attack somewhere else. The Romans try to maintain discipline, but they can't see the enemy, can't fight what they can't catch. And the column keeps moving because stopping means dying. Night falls. The Romans dig a hasty camp, exhausted, soaked, terrified. Germanic war cries echo through darkness. Nobody sleeps. Day 2 is worse. Paths narrow. Terrain gets rougher. Rain intensifies. Germanic attacks become constant. Full assaults on the baggage train. Slaughter of camp followers. The column disintegrates. Varus realizes too late what's happening. This isn't rebellion. This is annihilation. And Arminius orchestrated it all. Some Romans try to break out, make a run for the Rhine, but the Germans block every escape route. They know this forest. Romans don't. Every path leads to another ambush. By the third day, the column is collapsing in a running disaster that will drag on for days. Romans are starving, wounded, scattered, officers dead, standards lost. Legionaries throw away armor just to move faster. Camp followers butchered where they fall. Varus sees what's coming. He's not surviving this. Better to die Roman than be paraded as a trophy. He falls on his sword. His officers do the same. One by one. Choosing death over capture. Germanic warriors overrun the last positions. 3 entire legions are destroyed. Their sacred eagles, the standards of the 17th, 18th, and 19th legions, are lost to the enemy. Years later, Rome will recover some of them, but the shame endures. The riddle answers itself. 3 eagles marched into the trees. None return now. Germanic warriors sacrifice captives at their altars, mutilate bodies, and nail severed heads to trees. It's not just victory, it's revenge. News reaches Augustus weeks later. 3 legions lost. Varus dead. The Rhine border exposed. Augustus tears his clothes, lets his beard grow untrimmed, wanders the palace at night, banging his head against walls, crying out, "Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions." For days he's inconsolable. The man who survived civil wars, conquered Egypt, built an empire, breaks down over 3 lost eagles. Because this isn't just military defeat. This is a message. Rome's invincibility is a lie. Rome's dream of permanent conquest beyond the Rhine fades. The frontier hardens along the river for generations. And Augustus is 70 years old now, ruling for 40 years, master of the known world. But he's mortal, and when he dies, someone has to inherit this empire. The problem? Everyone he chose is dead. One by one, his heirs have fallen. Accident, illness, war, poison. Maybe it's bad luck. Maybe it's something darker. But Augustus is running out of time and running out of options. And in the shadows, someone is watching. Someone who's been patient. Someone who survived while everyone else died. Someone who might finally get what they've been waiting for all along. Chapter 16. The Curse of the Heirs. One by one they fall like autumn leaves, while poison whispers through the palace eaves. The year is 23 BC. Augustus sits in his study, staring at a list of names, his heirs. the future of Rome. He needs someone to take over when he's gone, someone strong enough to hold the empire together, someone Rome will actually follow. The problem? Everyone he picks ends up dead. Meet Marcellus, Augustus's nephew. 19 years old, handsome, charming, beloved by the crowd. Augustus marries him to Julia, his own daughter. The golden boy, Rome's shining future. Then Marcellus gets sick. Fever burns through him. Within days, he's gone. The theatre of Marcellus stands half-built, a monument to a future that died with its namesake. Augustus needs a new plan. He turns to Agrippa, his best friend, the man who won Actium. Agrippa's already married, but Augustus fixes that with a divorce. Agrippa marries Julia instead. It's awkward. Agrippa's 25 years older than his new bride, but it works. They have 5 children. Augustus adopts the 2 oldest boys, Gaius and Lucius. His heirs now. Problem solved. Then, in 12 BC, Agrippa collapses, dead at 51. Sudden, no warning. Augustus still has Gaius and Lucius. He raises them himself, grooms them for power. Gaius gets military commands, diplomatic missions, real responsibility. Lucius follows his brother's path. Both boys shine. Talented, popular. Everything Augustus needs. AD 2. Lucius dies in Gaul. 20 years old. Sudden illness. AD 4. Gaius dies in Asia Minor. 23 years old. Wounded in Armenia. Never recovers. 4 heirs, all dead. Marcellus at 19. Agrippa at 51. Lucius at 20. Gaius at 23. Picture this happening in your life. You choose someone to carry on your life's work. They die. You choose someone else. They die. Again and again. At some point, you stop believing in coincidence. Rome starts whispering. What are the odds? 4 healthy men, all chosen to rule, all dying young or unexpectedly. The whispers always land on the same name, Livia, Augustus's wife, 40 years by his side, beautiful, brilliant, ruthless, the empress in everything but title. Livia has a son from her first marriage, Tiberius, capable, experienced, a proven general. But Augustus doesn't like him, never has. Tiberius is cold, bitter, resentful, not the leader Rome dreams about. But every time Augustus picks someone else, that person dies. And Tiberius? Still breathing. Is Livia poisoning them? Clearing the path for her son? No proof, no confession, no witness, just suspicious timing. Convenient illnesses. Bodies piling up. Some ancient historians swear Livia was a master poisoner, mixing toxins no one could trace. Others call it slander. Here's what we know for certain. 4 men died. Tiberius survived. And in AD 4, Augustus runs out of options. He adopts Tiberius as his heir. Tiberius, the man he doesn't trust. The man who married his daughter Julia before that marriage collapsed. The man who watched everyone else die and said nothing. Think about being 70 years old. You built an empire from civil war and blood. You survived assassins and battles. You turned Rome into marble. And now, the only person left to inherit everything is someone you barely tolerate. Someone whose mother might have been murdering your family for decades. But what choice does Augustus have? Tiberius is competent, experienced, and most importantly, alive. Augustus makes Tiberius co-ruler, shares power, prepares him to take over. It's not what he wanted. It's what's left. And Livia? She's finally won. After 40 years of watching Augustus favor everyone except her son. After burying rivals. After waiting. Tiberius is the heir. Whether through patience, poison, or pure luck, she got what she wanted. Augustus is 76 now, ruling for over 40 years. He's tired, sick more often. The Teutoburg disaster wakes him at night. His daughter died in exile, never forgiven. His grandsons buried. His empire secure. His family destroyed. He's mortal, and mortality is catching up. But here's the strange part. Back in 28 BC, when Augustus was still young and powerful, he started building something. A massive tomb in the Campus Martius. Circular, towering, big enough to hold generations. Why does a man in his 30s build a tomb that size? 4 of his heirs are already buried there. Marcellus, Agrippa, Gaius, Lucius, all laid to rest while Augustus still walks and breathes and rules. He visits sometimes, stands at the entrance, stares at the names carved in stone, his family, his failures, his future. What kind of man builds his own grave and then fills it with everyone he loves before he dies? Chapter 17. The Mausoleum of a Living God. Stone rises where the living dread to stand. A king builds his kingdom in death's cold land. The year is 28 BC. Augustus is 45 years old. At the height of his power, he's just defeated Antony and Cleopatra. Egypt's gold flows into Rome. The civil wars are over. The empire is his. And the first thing he does, build a tomb. Not just any tomb, the biggest tomb Rome has ever seen. The Campus Martius, just north of the city centre. Open land where soldiers train. Augustus buys a massive plot. Then he starts building. The Mausoleum of Augustus rises like a mountain. Circular. Over 300 feet across. Nearly 150 feet tall. White marble gleaming. Cypress trees planted around it. A bronze statue of Augustus on top. It's not a tomb. It's a monument. A warning carved in stone. Inside, corridors spiral toward the center. Chambers branch off like spokes of a wheel, each one waiting, empty, ready. Why does a man build something like this when he's only 45? When he's healthy? When he's just conquered the known world? Because Augustus understands something most people don't. Power is temporary. Flesh is weak. But stone remembers. He's building his legacy in advance. You've just become the most powerful person alive. You could build anything. Palaces, temples, monuments to your victories. But instead, you build the place where you'll be buried, where Rome will come to remember you forever. It's brilliant and creepy. The mausoleum stands there like a prophecy, waiting. Then Augustus doesn't wait until he's dead to use it. 23 BC, Marcellus dies, 19 years old. Augustus's nephew and heir, the future of Rome. They carry his body through the streets, thousands mourning, into the mausoleum. The first to enter, the first to fill one of those empty chambers. Augustus stands at the entrance, watches his heir disappear into the stone mountain he built. The tomb isn't waiting anymore. It started collecting. 12 BC, Agrippa dies, Augustus's best friend, the man who won Actium. Into the mausoleum. 8 BC, Octavia dies, Augustus's sister, the woman who held the family together through decades of civil war. Into the mausoleum. AD 2, Lucius Caesar dies, Augustus's adopted son and heir, 20 years old, into the Mausoleum. AD 4. Gaius Caesar dies. Augustus's other adopted son and heir, 23 years old, into the Mausoleum. See the pattern? Augustus built this massive tomb when he was young and powerful. 30 years later, he's still alive, still ruling, still walking past that bronze statue of himself. But everyone he loves, already inside. Imagine visiting your own tomb, walking through those corridors, seeing the names carved in stone, your nephew, your best friend, your sister, your sons, all dead, all waiting for you. It's like living in a monument to your own grief. Rome whispers, the Mausoleum is cursed. Everyone who goes inside dies young, except Augustus. Augustus keeps living, keeps ruling, keeps burying people. Some say he's blessed by the gods. Others say he's being punished, forced to watch everyone die while he lives on. Alone, powerful, immortal in everything except the ways that matter. The Mausoleum changes meaning. It was supposed to be about legacy, about family, about eternity. Instead, it becomes a reminder. Power can't protect the people you love. Wealth can't buy them more time. No matter how much marble you pile up, death still comes, just not always for you. AD 9, after Teutoburg, after Varus loses 3 legions in Germania, Augustus tears his hair and screams for his lost eagles. But he doesn't die. He keeps living. AD 12, Julia dies. Augustus's only biological child. The daughter he exiled. The daughter he never forgave. She dies on a prison island far from Rome. He doesn't bring her body back. She doesn't get a chamber. Some wounds cut too deep even for stone. By AD 14, Augustus is 76 years old. The Mausoleum stands full of bodies, full of names, full of memories. But there's still one empty chamber left. The center. The most important spot. His spot. Augustus walks through those corridors now. An old man visiting his own grave. Touching the walls. Reading the names. Preparing. Here's what haunts him. All those deaths. All those heirs. Marcellus, Agrippa, Gaius, Lucius. Every single one died before reaching 40. Most died young. Healthy one day. Dead the next. And who's still alive? Livia, his wife. Never sick. Never weak. Always watching. Always smiling. And Tiberius, Livia's son. The heir now. The last one standing. The one nobody wanted. Augustus closes his eyes in the center chamber. His chamber. Where his body will rest for eternity. 4 heirs buried here. All dead young. All conveniently clearing the path for Tiberius. Is it possible? Who could have done it? Chapter 18. Livia's shadow. A cup half drained, a smile half shown. Who gains a crown when heirs are gone? AD 4 to AD 14. Rome. Let's talk about Livia Drusilla. Augustus's wife for over 50 years. The most powerful woman in Rome. Beautiful, intelligent, patient, and possibly the deadliest. Livia comes from old Roman nobility, married young to Tiberius Claudius Nero, has 2 sons with him, Tiberius and Drusus. Then in 39 BC, she meets Octavian, the future Augustus. He's already married. She's 6 months pregnant with her second son. Doesn't matter. Augustus divorces his wife. Livia divorces her husband. They marry immediately. Rome gossips. Augustus is so obsessed he can't wait. But here's the thing about Livia. She's not just beautiful. She's strategic. She understands power. She knows Augustus has no sons, only a daughter, Julia, which means his heir will come from somewhere else. Livia wants that heir to be her son. Tiberius. The problem: Augustus doesn't like Tiberius. Never has. He finds him cold, bitter, unlikable. Augustus keeps choosing other heirs: his nephew Marcellus, his best friend Agrippa, his grandsons Gaius and Lucius, and one by one they all die. Marcellus, dead at 19. Sudden fever in 23 BC. Agrippa, dead at 51. Sudden illness in 12 BC. Lucius, dead at 20. Sudden illness in AD 2. Gaius, dead at 23. Wounded in AD 4, never recovers. 4 heirs, all dead, all young, all unexpected. And who benefits every single time? Tiberius, Livia's son, the man who's still alive. Rome starts whispering. Is Livia poisoning them? Here's what makes the whispers so loud. Livia is an expert in plants and herbs. She has a garden, grows all kinds of things, some medicinal, some deadly. She knows what heals and what kills. Ancient historians like Tacitus and Cassius Dio suggest she's a master poisoner, that she uses toxins no one can trace, that she eliminates rivals with patience and precision. Others say it's slander, propaganda from enemies, impossible to prove. But the pattern is hard to ignore. Think about it. You're married to the most powerful man in the world. Your son should inherit. But your husband keeps picking other people. Young men, healthy men, men who should outlive him. What would you do? Livia waits. She's patient. She doesn't rush. She doesn't panic. She just watches. And when the moment comes, someone gets sick. Someone dies. And her son moves one step closer to the throne. Marcellus dies. Livia suggests Agrippa marry Julia, Augustus's daughter, keeps power in the family, keeps options open. Agrippa dies. Livia pushes for Tiberius to marry Julia, makes her son essential to the succession. Gaius and Lucius grow up strong. Augustus adores them, plans to pass them the empire. Livia smiles, says nothing, waits. Both boys die. Augustus has no choice. He adopts Tiberius in AD 4. Livia's son, the heir she wanted all along. Is it luck, strategy, murder? No one can prove anything. No witnesses, no confessions, no evidence that survives 2,000 years. But here's what we know. After AD 4, after Tiberius becomes heir, the deaths stop. No more mysterious illnesses, no more sudden fevers, no more convenient accidents. Why? Because Livia got what she wanted. Her son is the heir. There's no one left to eliminate, except Augustus himself. By AD 14, Augustus is 76 years old. Tired, sick more often. He's ruled for over 40 years. The empire is stable. Tiberius is ready. Everything is in place. But Augustus is still alive. Still the emperor. Still the obstacle between Tiberius and absolute power. Livia is 71 now, still sharp, still watching, still waiting. Does she think about it? About speeding things up? About helping nature along? Augustus trusts her, eats the food she prepares, drinks the wine she pours, sleeps in the same bed. After 50 years of marriage, he doesn't suspect her. Can't imagine she'd hurt him. But Livia has spent decades clearing the path for Tiberius. 4 heirs eliminated, all obstacles removed. Would she stop now, so close to the finish line? Augustus plans a trip south to Campania, a vacation, some rest. Livia insists on coming with him. She's always by his side, his faithful wife, his loyal companion. They travel to Nola, a small town near Naples, quiet, peaceful, a good place to rest. Augustus settles in. Livia tends to him, brings him meals, checks on him constantly, so devoted, so caring. But here's the question no one can answer. Is she nursing him? Or is she finishing what she started decades ago? Chapter 19. The Death at Nola. The stage is set, the curtains slow to fall. One voice still whispers, answering the call. August AD 14. Nola, Italy. Augustus wakes up feeling wrong. His stomach burns. He's been sick before, but this is different. Like something inside him is dying. Livia brings him figs from the garden, his favorite. She picked them herself. She smiles, so caring, so devoted. He eats a few, fresh, sweet, delicious. Within hours, he's worse. The pain spreads. He can't keep food down. Fever hits, sweating, shaking, skin turning grey. Livia sends for doctors. They examine him, shake their heads. Nothing they can do. Whatever this is, it's moving fast. The emperor is dying. Tiberius is on Capri when the message arrives. His mother's words are urgent. Come now, hurry. He races to Nola. Does he know what's happening? Does he suspect? Or does he just smell power? Augustus lies in bed, fading. After 76 years, after surviving civil wars and assassins and enemies by the dozens, this is how it ends. In a small villa, far from the marble city he built. He asks for a mirror. Livia holds it up. Augustus stares at his reflection. An old man, finished. He arranges his hair, smooths it. Even dying, image matters. Then he looks at the people around him. Livia, friends, servants. And he asks a question straight from Greek theatre. Have I played my part well in the comedy of life? Actors ask this at the end of performances, seeking approval. Did I entertain you? The room nods, smiles. Yes. You were magnificent. Augustus seems satisfied. If I have pleased you, kindly signify your appreciation with a warm goodbye. He's treating death like the final curtain, asking for applause. Then Tiberius bursts in, out of breath. Livia's son, the heir, the man who survived when everyone else died. Augustus stares at him, the man he never wanted, the man who's about to inherit everything. What passes between them? Does Augustus suspect? Does he finally understand? No one records it. But Augustus knows. Tiberius is the future now. He turns to Livia, his wife for 50 years, the woman who brought him those figs. Does he suspect her? Does he wonder if she's been poisoning rivals for decades? Or does he just see his wife, his partner, the woman he loved? Augustus takes his last breath on August 19th, AD 14, in Livia's arms, in the same house where his father died. Livia holds him, crying or acting, impossible to tell. Then she moves, fast. She seals the villa. No one leaves, no messengers, no announcements. She controls everything. Hours pass, maybe a full day. She needs time to secure Tiberius, time to eliminate threats, time to make sure the transition is perfect. When she finally announces Augustus's death, it's already done. Tiberius is emperor. The guard swears loyalty. The Senate approves. Seamless, perfect, too perfect. Rome hears the news and whispers immediately. Did he die naturally? Or did Livia finish what she started decades ago? The rumors focus on the figs from her garden, picked by her hands, fed to him by her. Some sources claim she coated them with poison. Others say she used a needle so fine no one would see the mark. Others call it slander. But whether she murdered him or just outlived him, Livia wins. Augustus is dead. Tiberius rules. 50 years of patience pays off. History can't prove murder. 2,000 years later, we're still arguing about those figs. But here's what happens next. Something even stranger than the death itself. The Senate meets. They have decisions to make about Augustus, about his legacy, about what he becomes now that he's gone. Because in Rome, death isn't always the end. Sometimes it's just a promotion. Chapter 20. From Mortal to God. The body burns, the smoke ascends. A man dies once, a god transcends. September AD 14. Rome. The funeral pyre stands ready in the Campus Martius. Massive, stacked with precious woods and spices, the kind of fire that announces greatness. Augustus's body lies on top, dressed in purple and gold, surrounded by images of his victories. Actium, Egypt, the world he conquered. The Senate gathers. Thousands of Romans crowd the field, watching, waiting. Tiberius stands at the front, the new emperor. Livia beside him, both dressed in black, both expressionless. The torch is light. Flames catch. The pyre roars to life. And then something happens that changes everything. A senator named Numerius Atticus swears he sees it. An eagle rising from the flames, soaring up through the smoke, up toward the heavens. Augustus's soul, ascending. The crowd gasps, points. Some people claim they see it too. Others see nothing but smoke and want. But it doesn't matter what's real. What matters is the story. Because that eagle gives the Senate everything they need. They meet days later, debate for hours, then vote. Augustus is declared a god. Divus Augustus. Not just honored, not just remembered, worshipped. Temples will rise in his name. Priests will serve him. People will pray to him. The man who claimed he restored the Republic becomes a deity of the state. Think about that. A guy who spent 50 years insisting he was just a citizen now gets altars and sacrifices. The ultimate contradiction. The final lie made holy. But here's the genius of it. By making Augustus a god, the Senate makes Tiberius the son of a god, divine by blood, untouchable by doubt. Livia becomes priestess of the cult. She runs the temples, controls the narrative, shapes how Augustus is remembered. Every statue shows him young, strong, perfect. The old dying man in Nola disappears, replaced by marble immortality. Comets that appeared years earlier are now reinterpreted as omens. Signs from the gods announcing Augustus's divinity. History rewritten in real time. The propaganda machine he built keeps running without him. Maybe runs better. Because dead emperors don't make mistakes, don't grow weak, don't disappoint. They just become legends. All over the empire, cities build temples. Augustus worship spreads like a religion. In the East, they'd been calling him a god for years. Now Rome makes it official. The man who said he found Rome brick and left it marble also left it something darker. A template for absolute power disguised as service. A monarchy that calls itself a republic. A dictator who becomes a saint. But the whispers survive. In taverns and markets, people still ask the questions. Did he save Rome or enslave it? Did he restore the republic or strangle it with silk? Was he the hero who brought peace, or the tyrant who killed freedom and made everyone grateful for it? The answers depend on who's talking. Senators praise him. Veterans worship him. Poets sing his glory. All paid or promoted by the regime. But in private, some remember. The proscriptions, the enemies who died, the rivals who vanished, the republic that fell while he claimed to save it. 2,000 years later, we're still arguing. Some call Augustus the greatest Roman who ever lived. Others call him history's most successful con man. Both might be right, because Augustus understood something most rulers miss. Power isn't about force, it's about story. Control the narrative, and you control everything. He built a myth so strong it survived his death. So perfect, it became religion. So complete that even now we can't separate the man from the monument. The Senate worships him. The people pray to him. And somewhere in the shadows, you can almost hear Livia smile. She won, completely. Her son is emperor. Her husband is a god. And she's the most powerful woman in Rome. Did she poison Augustus? History can't prove it. But she didn't need to. She already had everything she wanted. The question isn't whether she killed him. The question is whether it matters. Augustus transformed Rome. From chaos to empire. From republic to monarchy. From mortal to divine. He claimed he wore no crown. Built no palace. Held no titles except the ones the Senate forced on him. And Rome believed it, wanted to believe it, needed to believe it, because the alternative was admitting they'd traded freedom for safety, democracy for dictatorship, the republic for one man's vision. Augustus made that trade feel like victory, and for 200 years of relative peace that followed, maybe it was. But here's what survives in the whispers, in the words carved on forgotten walls, in the histories written by those who dared. Rome died the day Augustus was born. It just took 76 years for anyone to notice. The Republic ended not with the roar of battle, but with the quiet of acceptance. Not with Caesar's bloody daggers, but with Augustus's gentle smile. And when they made him a god, they made the lie eternal. These historical deep dives reveal the wild humanity behind famous names. If you're craving more stories that make the past feel alive and relatable, you've found your channel. Subscribe, and let's keep exploring the shocking, brutal, beautiful truth of what really happened.